deliberations, because there were some things that weren't answered that I kind of would like answered. So I'd like to know what's listed in the bonds as uses. As a resident and as a former council member, I am very concerned about all these things that I hear. Well, we can do this and we can do that. I want to know what I'm voting on in May. And before you pass this tonight, I want to know exactly what you're including in that bond by line item. And I would like it separated out on the bond issue so that I can decide what I do and don't want in the bond to be able to pass it. Today feels a little bit to me like a ready, fire, aim exercise. Rehashing, discussing, not certain, kind of volleying back and forth. Some of that's good. But that's what today's meeting feels like. We're 2 days before the final day to call an election, so let's be clear while we're here. They knew that we were going to do a petition to block the COs. Friday is the last day for them to call an election for May, a bond election for May. That's why we're here tonight, in a small building at 5 o'clock at night. So let's be clear. My issue is, and we've heard that there's been a lot of planning, and that may be so, but for me, there's no clear plan, there's no concept, there's no cost. There's no list of what's included in the law, in a very large bond that's before this council tonight to approve, to put on us to vote on. And if you feel the plan is so good, and that in 8 or 9 weeks you can communicate the value to residents, at a minimum, I ask you separate these items out on the ballot. If it is so good, and it is so beneficial to us, we should be able to vote on it in separate line items. Now, ideally, in my opinion, you'd wait till the November election and you'd put together a bond committee to go sell this for you. That's how you did the park bonds. And those guys worked for about 12 months before that came to me as a voter to decide on. They did their homework, they talked to residents, they found out what they didn't want, and in my opinion, you haven't done that. You did a facility use study, you put out there, you voted on it. We've not seen a single concept of what you're planning. Not one. Even a pencil drawing. Interest rates are at an all-time low, so yeah, they're probably going to go up. But nobody's got a crystal ball. Even the gentleman here who's the expert says there's no crystal ball. They could go up, they could go down. That's just a fact of life. And because they're at an all-time low, the probability to say they're going to go up is pretty good. Even I could say that. And to the point of commercial, if Beck were to do anything, it's at least 5 years away. And that's if he ever does anything. And for me, please don't hedge my money on Beck doing anything. So I disagree that you can't do your homework if you take a step back on the 2.5 cents. Because I agree with Jim, don't put it on the backs of my kids who are all going to live here in Trophy Club. Do your homework, put together a bond committee, and let the residents have input on this from this point forward. Thanks.
I believe that we do need to move this forward. I believe that the vote that we took at the last council meeting, or in the council meeting when we approved it with COs acceptable. In fact, in 2004, when that council voted to build the public service building, they did it exactly the same way that we were doing this. It was simply with COs. Trophy Club is a great place to live. We have low crime rate, and we have high quality of life, we have great schools. There's not a single traffic light thanks to our roundabout. And living in a small town in America is really a great way to live, and that's the way we live here. Having said that, I would also like to say that Trophy Club suffers, as do a lot of small communities in America, from a particular issue. There exists within our town a group of very vocal, a small group of very vocal citizens that oppose virtually every initiative that is proposed or comes before the council. It seems that their single goal is to postpone, delay, or kill any progress at all in this community. The tactic that is most often used is to cry to let the citizens vote on the issue. They support the need for such a vote by spreading information that is simply not factual. Their other tactic is to call for a committee to study the proposal. The fact is the citizens have already voted. In Trophy Club, the citizens have already voted and elected people to represent them to make decisions on their behalf. They've elected city council members, county commissioners, state and federal representatives, and a president to represent their views on every issue. Another fact as it relates to this particular issue is that the town staff and the town council, this committee, has been working on this project for over 2 years. Does anyone actually believe that a new committee of citizens can start from ground zero, meeting once or twice a month, and cover in a few weeks or a few months what this council has been studying for over 2 years? The reality is this: there's no single issue that everyone will agree on or the way that it should be done. In my opinion, that the citizens expect their officials, their elected officials, to do the job that we were elected to do, and that's to make decisions. If the loud negative voices make us afraid to make a decision, then we should not have been a candidate to begin with. If we think that every issue should be voted on by the citizens, we will never get anything accomplished in Trophy Club. Again, there is no single issue that everyone will agree on, nor the way that it should be done. As an elected official, I do listen to what the voters have to say. But I also understand that everyone comes with a personal bias on the issue. What is viewed as a total mistake by some is viewed as needed and necessary by other citizens. Our job as council people are to listen and try to determine in the end what is best for the Trophy Club citizens as a whole. That should be the role of everyone on the council. It is my hope that we stay focused and continue to provide good government to all the citizens of Trophy Club.
I was concerned because I heard street repairs, but, so for the record, the only thing that's in the bond is construction for a joint facility, PD and town hall, and renovation of the public services building. There's nothing in there for streets, there's nothing in there for civic center. Okay, good. So a couple of things. So it was based on interviews with staff and other people, so basically the feasibility study was a wish list. Okay, if you could have what you wanted, at the end of the day, what would you include? The fire department is beautiful, and it was $3.1 million. So I guess the question that we as residents have is, why does the town need a facility 5 times? That's going to cost us 5 times that amount. And again, that goes back to, you need to tell me why I should vote for it. Again, if you combine these two, you run a risk of the PD being the error of your ways and not separating it out. There have been no discussions whatsoever with the MUD as to whether they participate now or in the future in that building, and I think those discussions are important to have. Everything that Betty is talking about in 2004, I'll remind you, in 1980, our housing revenues dropped significantly. There wasn't the revenue, there were shortfalls, there was a recession, and the values were in the tank, and there were no revenues, and there were no surplus INS. I can tell you that back in 1980, that didn't occur when some of those decisions happened. Again, if it's such a need, when you feel you're going to be able to sell it in 8 or 9 weeks, separate it out and let me decide what I agree with you on, and what exactly is going to be in it. To a certain degree. I don't care about the tile or the color of the floors, Bill. I want to know how big it is, and I want to know what it's going to look like. I don't need a town hall like South Lake in Trophy Club. All right? But I know that we need something better than we have today. And there is nobody in this room who's a bigger supporter than our PD. And I will stand out on street corners for them. And if you can convince me about the town hall, I'll stand out on the street corner for that too. You've not convinced me because you've not given me enough information. I told Mike Sly, and I'll tell you all tonight, I'll serve on the bond committee, but we have to have the information, and we don't have that today. That's why I encourage you, separate it out. If it is such a good deal, and it is such a strong need, then you should be able to sell it. And use us to do it. Thank you.
Julie Baldwin. Speak tonight. So this is just something that I'm just going to bring up, and really it goes with this whole issue because it's about involving the residents. I come to a few meetings questions, and I see where we are with involving some residents, and you want resident input, but you seem to only want resident input when it's convenient. I, as a resident, will not apologize for asking questions and being concerned about how our tax dollars are spent. No one should be that concerned or be chastised by a council member for allowing for disagreements. Last time I heard, you were begging for people to show up and communicate their concerns and wants and needs in this town. Danny, at one point, you were one of us. You were negative about everything that was going to go on, and then you got elected. Should this town not be all of us? It really shouldn't be Residents United for Trophy Club or The Voice. Like I hear a feasibility study was on The Voice, but it wasn't done. I know that we have council members, lots of them on one, a couple on the other. It should be all of us asking questions to all of the residents. To ridicule a small group for being vocal when we wish that more residents would be, I don't understand. And all I want to read to is one last thing. In 2012, I want to be clear, this is from Danny Mayer, that my comments about the cost of the dog park have nothing to do with parks, but have everything to do with what I believe is a systematic problem here in Trophy Club. Tax and spend, non-responsiveness to voters, and lack of accountability. That is your negative comment, Danny Mayer. So why, instead of bringing on tonight to ridicule the small group that you were once a part of, how about trying to unite people and not have those type of discussions here in the meeting? Thank you.